Hello, I'm Gary Quinn, and welcome to another episode of Ready, Set, Live. My guest today is Marc Jacobson, writer, director, and executive producer. Peter is best known as the showrunner of the popular 90s sitcom The Nanny, which he created and produced with his then-wife, Fran Drescher, who also starred in the series. TV Land aired a series he co-created with Fran, Happily Divorced, based on their 18-year marriage, which ended after Peter told Fran he is gay. Peter served as executive producer and writer. Don't go away. I'll be right back with Marc Jacobson. Welcome to the show, Peter.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
You know, we all have our journeys, and, you starting out in the entertainment world, I know you grew up in New York. Was there a sense of you knew that this was your destiny, or was there an epiphany that happened as a young man growing up?
I think when I was a really young man, many years ago, my parents used to bring me to Broadway twice a year. We'd see a Broadway show. And I was so caught up in that world of make-believe and the lights and the scenery, and I just was fascinated by it. And television, I was fascinated by sitcoms, and I would watch them and pretend I had my own sitcom. And so I feel like, in a way, I manifested my future, not knowing what I was doing. I didn't try to do that, but I pretended, so it was so real in my head, and then it happened.
Yeah, I think as young children, and many of the people I've interviewed over the years, I have said the same thing. They were, in a sense, they were setting the intention of what they wanted to create. Some were aware of it consciously and unconsciously. So as you saw the theater, which was a wonderful place to grow up, what was the next step? I know you met Fran in high school, or you were high school sweethearts. Was she destined for also acting? Was she doing that, or was it just?
Back in the day in New York, we went to a progressive high school. It was the first of its kind, where half the day you did academics, and then the rest of the day you specialized in pre-med, theater, whatever it was. And we chose the theater career path, and we met doing a show and immediately became best friends. We both had the same sense of humor. We both got very involved in theater at school. We would teach senior citizens after school theater. And as we got when we graduated, my mother, who sold Avon, used to sell to a woman who managed young kids who wanted to be actors and do TV commercials. So we met with her. It was Cousins Management, and they signed us, and we started to work professionally in the business. At 17 years old, I think it was, doing TV commercials.
I love it. What was your first commercial?
My first commercial was Lifesavers.
I love it.
The flavor goes on and on.
You never really forget. Years ago, when I was an actor, I did Kentucky Fried Chicken. And I can't eat that chicken because we had to eat it so much. But I think your first exposure as a teenager, you're in the lights, the cameras, it's all real. So what, after you had a taste of the commercials, what happened next?
Well, we would go out after, we would go every day to Manhattan and to Tad's Steakhouse for a $3 steak. And then we would go audition, and we started working a fair amount. Getting pretty successful doing TV commercials.
Was Fran was doing commercials too?
Yes, we both did them. Her first one was McDonald's, and she said, welcome to McDonald's holding a tray. And when we saw it, they took her voice out. And she's like, why? And then she started to audition for some movies in New York, and she got Saturday Night Fever, which started her career, and then Paramount became aware of her and flew her out to California to audition for a movie called American Hot Wax. I was still doing commercials back in New York, but was going to join her. And I was doing a commercial with Steven Weber, who later on in life played her husband in her last sitcom. Uh-huh. And we were teenagers doing a Wise potato chip commercial. And I flew back to California to be with Fran, who was doing this movie. And, we were living at Oakwood Garden Apartments. And I didn't grow up, my family didn't have any money. So when I saw Oakwood Garden Apartments, it had a pool.
Yeah, we're right down the street from there.
Yeah, and they used to give away free bagels on Saturday. And I felt like I was living, the high life. And a jacuzzi, I never experienced anything like that. And I was, we were very happy. We were working and, not working and working. And I started to audition for commercials, and then out in Los Angeles. And then I'd start doing episodic TV, like in 90210 and Murphy Brown. And I was pilots. And the two of us were working. And Fran would usually do a pilot every year, and they didn't get picked up, most of them. And she did one last pilot, and she said, you know what? If I can't get in on the
bottom floor
producing side of it,
right,
I don't want to do this anymore, because I just see the mistakes that they're making. And at least if I'm making the mistake, I could say, all right, well, I did it. But, I think I can do this better. So she had done a last pilot, and she had a meeting, and she had done a bunch of a picked up series for 6 called Princesses at CBS. And the review said, when will CBS learn it should be called Princess? And she ran into Jeff Sagansky on a plane, who was the head of CBS, and basically cornered him and said, would you just let me come in with my ideas? And he finally, because, where was he going to go? Coach? He said, yes, come in. Just let me sleep. And she came in, we came in, and she went away, went to, I think she was going to London to be with Twiggy. And she was taking care of Twiggy's kid. And she thought it was such a funny relationship, this New York girl with this proper English kid. And she called me up and she said, what do you think about The Sound of Music, except I come to the door? And I had just sold a show for Dan Aykroyd, with Dan Aykroyd, I should say. I'm sorry. He actually sold it, but I came up with the idea. And I said to Fran, yeah, that idea that you just pitched, Julie Andrews coming to the door, that's the way to go. That's the show we got to go sell. And we went in and sold it, and they bought 6 of them.
Excellent.
And the rest was kind of
and I think, Peter, that's the way of the future for any performer, is to have hands-on. I recently was at the Producers Guild breakfast, and I chatted with Margot Robbie, and she was talking about how 6 studios turned down Barbie. Took her 6 years to make it. Same with Maestro with Bradley Cooper. And he had won an Academy Award, and they said, no, we don't want it. So I think the intention that the individual has, and any performer, is really just the belief. And you believed in this project, and it was a big hit. I mean, I remember the Nanny was all over the place.
Yeah, it was huge. It was crazy.
Yeah. And so during that time, did you sense that there was issues with you and Fran, or was it just you said, well, I have this side of myself that I haven't revealed?
No. We were victims of a violent crime years before the nanny. And I had told Fran that, I was in really bad shape and she was, and I was like, I started thinking, because I had always in my mind was attracted to men and women. And I didn't know what to make it. I back in my day, there was no such thing as gay.
Correct.
In Flushing, Queens, nobody talked about it. So I didn't know what to make it, but I felt horribly guilty if I even thought about it. And I remember magically saying to a therapist, maybe I brought on this horrible incident because of, I'm not telling the truth about who I am. And I told Fran, I'm bisexual, I think, and I don't want to act on it or anything, but I do have these feelings. And she at the time didn't want to be alone. That was her thing. And so we continued to live together and work together and have our relationship together. But I was always I couldn't get it out of my head and thinking, am I cheating her life? Am I cheating me out of my life? And basically about to have a nervous breakdown when we sold the nanny. And then it was sort of like, pull yourself together. You're never going to get a chance like this again, and go to work, which I did right before having the nervous breakdown. And but we never dealt with anything really. And I became very controlling, so as not to deal with my own problems. I controlled her, telling her what to eat, what to drink, who to talk to. Terrible. And she finally said, you know what? I've had it. I don't want to live like this. And we split up and separated, but still worked together. And it was very hard. And I had no family at that point, so it was kind of like an orphan. And the show ended 3 years later. And we weren't getting back together or anything. So I moved to New York to try to figure out who I was and started my journey. And that's how it happened.
I think also, Peter, when people have, I call it breakthroughs, not breakdowns, that each individual experience in life brings us to a certain consciousness. And, when we, let's say, step into the growth factor of it, we can then look at ourselves and say, okay, I need to be authentic, but I need to also be grounded. As you went back to New York, did you throw yourself into something to grow? Did you get into music? I mean, what was the healing factor for you that put you into the new headspace?
Well, I wish it was as beautiful as that, but I threw myself into going out every night to gay clubs and trying to figure out who I was. And I was very paranoid because at the time we were on, a lot of tabloid covers and things like that, getting divorced because the show was so big, and I didn't want people to know I was there. And so I'd wear a cap and glasses, and not that anybody really would have cared anyway. But at the time, I didn't want to hurt Fran or anybody. I just wanted to figure out who I was. And so I just kind of had my gay adolescence at 40, and trying to figure out where do I fit in all this. And eventually, calmed down and came back to Los Angeles to do What I Like About You with Amanda Bynes and Karen Lucas. And Fran and I built a friendship again when her manager called me, who was my manager, and said that she had cancer. And we hadn't spoken for a year. And immediately all the anger left and just the love was there. And I called my manager and said, listen, if she wants me to come take care of her or not talk to me or whatever, just let her know I'm sending best to her and am there for her. And she sent a note back, said she would like to speak to me, but after surgery. And we built a friendship after that, and eventually developed happily divorced because of that.
And Peter, I think the thing is that if you look at all of the let's say the lifespan, really at the end of this life, love is really all there is. And so how do you think one individual or individuals can learn to love themselves? Because we all come into this life with lessons. Everybody's at a different, school of life. What would you suggest to somebody who's completely lost and really doesn't know themselves? What would be a tip that you could say, here's what you should probably do, or what I did?
Well, don't base yourself or anything on other people or their relationships, thinking life has got to be a certain way. I kind of grew up that way, watching television with Ozzie and Harriet and these perfect families. And, when you look at their real lives of these people, they were far from perfect. And nobody has a perfect life. Nobody, sexuality, there's a whole realm of people that are 100% gay, 100% straight. And then there's a whole bunch of people that are in the middle somewhere. And find what makes you authentically happy, whatever it is, because that's your truth.
Yep.
And learn to find comfort in that. It may not be what other people want. It may not be what your parents want or anyone, but that's how God or the universe or whatever you want to call it created you. And that's what makes you different than anybody else. And that's when your success will probably happen. Fran is very, very comfortable in her own body. She is who she is. She didn't try to change her voice and as the world told her to do. You'll never work, they said, with that voice. I thought that's what made her interesting, that she was so beautiful and had that funny voice. I said, that's what makes you special, I think. Yeah. And I was right.
Yeah. No, and I think, everybody has a gift, and so many people in the industry, they try to say, no, you'll never work. Exactly what happened to Jennifer Hudson. Everybody told her she was never going to make it. And, she's, 4-time winner of everything. She's got
anybody who tells you you're not gonna, stop listening immediately. Nobody knows nothing. Just live your life, live your truth, do what you love, and it will happen. Something will happen out of that. If you do what you love, something will happen. Don't listen to people who are going to naysay or say you're doing it the wrong way. You can learn from people, and people who can teach you some great stuff. But as soon as someone says you can't do that, I would stop listening to that person.
What does the soul mean to you?
I think it's your truth. I think it's your inner truth. What's not covered by social things or what we've learned, or, just what's so raw and truthful. And every time you can bring yourself back to that, I find it for myself the most powerful. Whenever I try to make things happen, I don't know, it doesn't seem to work for me. When I let go and just let what's happening come to me, that's when I've been the most successful.
Yeah, you have to trust and believe. And whatever faith you work with, I think that's part of the mission, is to activate that within yourself. What is your ultimate mission in this life, Peter?
I like to make people laugh. It's so rewarding when I write something or people come up to me on the street and say, "Oh, I love the Nanny." When I'm down or when I was sick, I would watch it every day and it would make me feel good. Making people laugh is such a powerful thing. It's such a powerful emotion. I mean, they've proven it helps cure you. I think that was my mission, to make people laugh and feel good and entertain them. I think that's why I was put here.
If you were granted one wish for humanity, what would that be?
Health. Just that everything else you can change, but health sometimes, and health you can too, but if you don't have health, you have nothing.
I agree.
And I know it's said and people roll their eye and yeah, we know that, but you don't know that. You really don't, because until you get unhealthy and you realize how nothing else matters, that fancy house in the hills is borrowed. We're all here borrowing stuff. None of it is ours. Can't take any of it with you. It's nice that we can borrow it. It's nice to borrow a pretty house. It's nice to have a pretty car. But at the end of the day, that's going to be here and you're not.
Exactly.
So be kind to people. Help people if you can.
Yeah.
If someone's, I find myself with road rage sometimes, and then I have to say to myself, you know what? If they want to get in front of me, let them go. Just go. Have a good day. I don't know what they're going through. Sometimes, I'm not that perfect and I don't. But as much as I possibly can, I try to be kind to people. And, if I could change something, I'd stay off the internet more, because it's so mean-spirited and I think unhealthy. And if you read, there is nothing somebody can do that somebody isn't going to say something negative about it. And when you realize that this is just people's opinions, it's,
exactly.
Garbage, really.
Do you have, Peter, a ritual? I know I see you at my gym and you work out, but what do you do? Do you meditate? Do you do any positive thinking, affirmations? What's the ritual to keep yourself in balance?
I write a gratitude list every day, of everything I'm grateful for. And when I'm riding the car, I'll make lists again in my head of everything I'm grateful for. The other day I was in traffic and I was getting really nervous, and I thought I had just got some bad news about someone who was very, very sick. And I thought to myself, God, this person would love to be sitting here in traffic with the radio on, warm in the rain, and they're dealing with another reality right now. So, that's, again, back to health. I do that. I do meditate. I only do it for like 10 minutes at a time. But it's enough. I take these, what they call power naps, 10, 20 minutes in the day, where I'll put on a meditation power nap. You can just find them on your computer for free. I eat pristinely. I try to, watch what I eat. So it's healthy, organic foods, and I work out every day for about an hour. And I try to be of service to people if I can.
Excellent. Quick one-word answers. What does love mean to you?
Smiles.
What does God mean to you?
Peace. What
is your favorite thing to do on a Sunday morning to just be Peter?
Feel the sun on my face.
Excellent. Great, Peter. Well, thank you so much for this time together. And I wish you great success in everything you do. You're already in alignment to your energy, but people can follow you on your Instagram, and that is at official Peter Marc Jacobson. And you've been an inspiration.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. Very kind of you to say.
So thank you for spending this time with me. And I'm Gary Quinn. Join me for another episode of Ready, Set, Live. Be well.